Welcome back to part 2 of my question and answer session. Remember on Instagram, I asked all of you to submit your questions to me about all the problems that you have. Well, in this session, we're going to look at more of them. The first question today comes from an Instagram follower called Muzaffar Saglig, and he or she asks, how do you know the difference between I am at home or I am home? Well, there's very little difference, to be honest. If I call my friend and I say, where are you? I'm at home. Or I'm home at the moment. There's really very little difference. Maybe in America or the United Kingdom, there may be some differences, but to be honest, I don't know. So just use whichever feels more comfortable to you. The next question is about prepositions. And this comes from Muhat Binto and I am Kuznidin. Thanks for submitting this question because prepositions are really difficult in English, especially when they come with phrasal verbs. And I know there's another question in here about phrasal verbs. So first we should say, what's a preposition? Do you know what a preposition is? Because you need to know. A preposition is usually a small word, such as at, on, in, by, around, into, over, under, lots more. So if I can think of any, I'll give you some. Before, after, they're all really useful prepositions, and you need to know what they do and how to use them. The best way to do it is to directly translate them into your language first, okay? Just the small word like at or in. When you have translated them into your language, remember them, because usually they are the same. For example, the paper is on the table. That's probably the same in your language. So when you know your prepositions from your language, it will make it a lot easier. The difficult part is when they are associated with verbs, and that creates a phrasal verb. And we'll talk about phrasal verbs a little bit later. The next question comes from an Instagram follower called Shaz, and he or she asks, how to say see you in a short period of time? Well, the most common way is obviously see you, okay? But there are other ways that you might want to say it. For example, see you soon, or in a while, or later. So there's 3 that you might want to use in the future. The next question is from Starlight Night. And the question was simply speaking. What do you mean, Starlight Night? Speaking, what's your question? Well, obviously many of you will want to know how to improve your speaking, and that's a really hard question. The best way to improve your speaking is to practice. There's no other way. But I know that many of you will not have access to a teacher like me, so that makes things really difficult. However, I do have some good advice for you. The first thing that you can do is to find a native speaker friend, okay? If you can find them in another country, maybe they want to learn your language. That's really the best way. And make sure that you only speak in English to them. So you can do something like a language exchange. 30 minutes in your language, in Portuguese, and 30 minutes in English. However, I know that there are not many native speakers that are wanting to do that. So the next piece of advice that you could take is to find another speaker of the same level. So somebody from Indonesia might find a language partner with somebody in Mongolia. Because you don't speak the same language as a native language, you have to speak English. So then you can communicate in that way. That's the next best way. If you don't want to do that, and if you feel a bit shy, the final way is for you to read and record and listen. Use your phone to listen to yourself when you're speaking and try to compare how does it sound with a native speaker and how do I say it? And they are my 3 tips. The next question comes from Mazora, and Mazora asks about phrasal verbs. Now, I already told you about prepositions. You need to know prepositions for phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb is a verb and a preposition which go together. Can you think of any examples? If you can think of any examples, write them in the comment section below. I'll give you a couple now. The first example is give up. Now, give up is very different to give and up. For example, I could say, I gave him some chocolate and I'm pointing up. But give and up together, when I say give up, is something really different. Give up means to stop. Let me give you an example. She gave up smoking. She gave up smoking. And that means she stopped smoking. So when we put the phrasal verb together, the meaning totally changes. And I have a bit of a secret for you. Phrasal verbs are really the hardest part of English. Maybe not as hard as some idioms, but they are super, super difficult. So, first piece of advice, don't worry so much if you are at the intermediate level. You need to start learning phrasal verbs from intermediate level and above. So, give up, take over, bring up, lots and lots of different phrasal verbs. If you can think of any, write them in the comments section below and I'll have a look at some of your comments and I'll say if they're correct or not. The final question for today is from Deanna and she asks about articles. Now, I know that in many languages the article does not exist. Do you know what an article is? It's not an article that you find in a newspaper. It's actually a very small word that we have in English that many of you don't have in your language. And there are 3 articles in English. A, an, and the. A and an are like a brother and sister. And you know the difference between a and an. It depends on the next word. So I would say a boy or an orange. A boy, an orange. Because orange begins with a vowel, A-E-I-O-U, we use an. It's as simple as that. Then we have the. So, a, an, the. Indefinite, definite. Indefinite, definite. If you don't know what the word indefinite and definite mean, make sure you read about them because indefinite articles, a and an, are really different to the definite article, the. I can't really give you all of the reasons in today's class, but I will make a video in the future about articles a, an, and the. I really hope you've enjoyed today's session. Have you learned something? Give me some of your practice sentences in the comments. I love to read them. Come to my Instagram page and follow me because I'll give you loads and loads of free videos that will help you improve your vocabulary, your pronunciation, and generally your speaking. My name is Chris, I'm a teacher, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.